It's lights out, and away we go.
It's the DRS Zone with Sam Wyatt and Ed Wyatt.
Yes, boys! Let's go!
Hello and welcome to the DRS Zone podcast, episode 3 of 2022. My name is Ed Wyatt. Alongside me is my 13-year-old son, Sam Wyatt. Today we're going to be wrapping up the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, an incredible race won by Max Verstappen, a late pass of Charles Leclerc, who finished second. Carlos Sainz was third. There were 6 DNFs. Mick Schumacher got involved in a huge smash. Plenty to talk about. Sam, as a Ferrari fan, as a Leclerc fan, I know you were disappointed, but it was quite a race, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite a race, and this is what we want to see, the wheel-to-wheel action, and great job to Max. I mean, he deserved the win. He raced really well, and from 4th to 1st is a pretty good job for Red Bull, and I think this year's going to be a really tight battle, and I can't wait for it, even though I do want Leclerc to win.
Yeah, you're putting on a brave face, I got to admit. Monday morning here in Melbourne, that face wasn't so brave. You're very disappointed.
I was upset.
Well, we had to
I'm happier now.
He finished second,
Yeah,
right?
I know. But it could have been first if it wasn't for Alex Albon.
Greedy. Let's start with our top talking points of the week, brought to you by Little Bear Prints, wearable, shareable art. All your t-shirt needs at littlebearprints.com.au. Let's start with the first one. I'll let you lead off into this one because, once again, it's Ferrari.
It's Ferrari versus Red Bull again. The battle last year, Red Bull versus Mercedes. This year, Red Bull versus Ferrari.
Yep.
No doubt about that. It's only those two in the title contenders. I don't think Mercedes will challenge. But Verstappen and Leclerc going head-to-head once again. Sainz up there on the podium 3 races in a row because he was up there in Abu Dhabi last year.
Yep.
No one really knew that after the Hamilton-Verstappen thing. Perez on pole, got unlucky, ended up finishing 4th. I do feel bad for him after that bad luck with the safety car. But yeah, it's kind of just been Red Bull and Ferrari, the top 4. No one else really impeding them up there. I mean, Ferrari looked fast in Bahrain, and they kind of held on to that race lead. Red Bull looked in a bit of trouble with their reliability, but it seems they've sorted that out this week. They sort of dominated, although Leclerc was actually fastest in all the 3 practice sessions. But I think this one's going to be interesting to look at going into the next couple of races.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Last year it was Ferrari, it was Mercedes and Red Bull. This year, so far, it's Ferrari and Red Bull. Number 2, you said this earlier, how good is the wheel-to-wheel racing? They've changed the cars.
It's great.
All the drivers, except maybe Hamilton, are saying they love it. And we had Max versus Charles. The 2 Alpines going at it was incredible.
That was awesome, yeah. Ocon, I was getting flashbacks there. I was worried he was going to run into a pink teammate again. And I was like, oh, where have I seen this before? But no, it was just great racing. And cars can follow a lot closer, as we saw with Verstappen versus Leclerc.
Yeah.
Leclerc was able to come back at him a couple of times. He did that in Bahrain too. So that's good to see the wheel-to-wheel racing. And we kind of missed that past few years with Mercedes dominance. It was kind of just them out in front, occasional podium for a Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri, or McLaren or Racing Point. But now I think it's mixed up the order. And yeah, I think the racing is really what we wanted to see.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that whole DRS and the fake DRS and do you really want to use it or not use it has added a whole nother element to it.
I do too, but I think that's just this kind of race because I tell you for a fact, that last corner changes at Bahrain. It's kind of just a swooping last corner. This one, because it's such a prone overtaking zone going into the last corner, people want to overtake, but you won't have the DRS because the detection zone is fairly late. So whether you hold back, get the DRS, and then get them into the powerful turn 1 because there aren't many overtaking opportunities going into the rest of the track. But I think that's only in Saudi Arabia. I doubt they'll be doing that much in other tracks.
All right. What do you got for number 3?
I'm going to put in Hamilton failing to get out of Q1.
Couldn't you believe it?
Yeah, tough weekend for Lewis Hamilton. Just never would have expected him to be out in Q1. That's first time in a long time since he's been out on Q1. The last time, 2017 at the Brazilian Grand Prix when, of course, he crashed on a slippery surface in Q1. He was out there. But this is the first real time we've seen him out on true pace. Yeah, it's just not what you were expecting. He did end up getting 10th place, but still, just not.
Well, you
not
almost couldn't believe it.
Mercedes.
Yeah, watching it along with the commentators and even the other teams, you almost couldn't believe it
Yeah, I know.
when he didn't make it out of Q1. Just pretty remarkable.
And he said, like, after the race, no way I could keep up with that Haas. It came blowing past me. Hold on. Let's just go back to last year. Would you ever have imagined Mercedes saying that Haas is so fast, man?
Yeah.
Is this like a different world we're
It is.
living
It's
in?
a bizarro world. You're absolutely right. That was astonishing when he said that. It really was. He seems to be
true. It's true.
It is true.
They are struggling.
And he seems to be handling
They
it
are
okay,
struggling, yeah.
to be honest.
Russell up there in 5th this weekend, which I think is the best Mercedes could have hoped for. 5th place, I think, is good for them. But not where you would expect them to be fighting.
No.
For 5th and 6th. I mean,
Except-
they're a better team.
Well, the only thing I will
But
say
this
is
year-
that's what Toto said last week. Remember, he said we're probably 5 and 6.
Yeah, and
Right.
I'm glad they're not sandbagging. I mean, I like to see Mercedes at the top. I don't like to see anyone doing badly. But the sandbagging, if that went on for another year, would have been sick of the act.
No, you're absolutely right. Fascinating to see what happens from here. Talking point number 4, I'm going to throw this one in there. A lot of things over the years, a lot of negativity about drivers like Kvyat getting in a lot of
Danny,
crashes.
the torpedo.
Mazepin, obviously, and there's the whole thing about drivers that come with money and are they really very
Maldonado.
good? Well, Latifi is now entering in that realm, in my
He's
opinion.
entering there.
He's caused
yet.
he caused another red flag or
Safety car.
safety car.
He did it in Abu Dhabi.
He ruined the
I
Abu
think-
Dhabi
I think
race
he
in
did
many
it-
ways.
I think he did it in Qatar as well.
He
He did it in Imola last year. The
they're gonna
list
have to have-
goes on.
They're going to have a hard look at what he's doing or not doing because
Did it in Monaco in a
yeah,
practice.
it's not great. I mean, I will say Williams struggling, but he is not doing himself any favors, and the rest of the grid is not going to be really happy if he continues this trend. I'll be honest.
No, and Perez, I mean, was probably the one who lost out with his
Right.
crash the most. Going from pole, got unlucky with the safety car. Ferrari forced him into pitting early. Well, they kind of made the decision, debatable. But anyway, he got unlucky, the safety car coming out, and then he went down to 4th. And that was Latifi crashing in qualifying and in the race as well.
Yeah.
Although I think the race one, I don't think that was as much his fault. That car did seem very loose. Both crashes were caused by the rear end slipping out,
Yeah,
which I
where
think
there's-
is partly Williams' fault. We've seen them struggle in the
Where
wind
there's
before.
smoke, there's fire, my friend.
But Alex Albon managed to control it. Well, sort of.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm just saying, look out. That's all I'm saying. He better get his act together because he's already ruined Hamilton's race. He's ruined Perez's race.
Yeah.
The other drivers aren't going to be too
Who's
happy if he
next?
continues to crash. So
Yeah.
let's keep an eye on that. What do we got for number 5?
Number 5, a big query. Will we continue racing in Saudi Arabia?
Ooh, yeah, well.
One of the weirdest weekends
Wasn't
in
it?
Formula One.
Why do you say that? Why do you say weird?
Well, free practice one in between that and free practice 2. A missile struck right near the track. Thankfully, everyone was okay. Thankfully.
Yes.
But it was an attack from, where was it?
Yemen.
Yemen?
The Yemeni rebels.
Yep. Very close to the track. Luckily, as I said, everyone's okay. Followed by that in qualifying, Latifi crashed, which is kind of a given. Schumacher had a
Very scary.
very nasty
Yeah.
crash. Thankfully, Mick Schumacher is okay. He was treated by the ambulance in the hospital. He's okay. Unfortunately, he couldn't race.
No.
But I'm glad he's feeling better. He should be there next weekend. And a lot of drivers didn't want to race. It's a dangerous track. The whole political thing.
Yep.
The human rights. There's
Absolutely.
thousands of reasons not to race in Saudi Arabia. And they might not get to because Las Vegas might be coming in next year.
Yeah, Vegas has been mooted as a potential track in 2023. You hit the nail on the head, mate. There were a lot of people that didn't really. Hamilton's been outspoken about the human rights issues in Saudi Arabia. When that missile struck, that just freaked a lot of people out.
That was kind of just like
Look, it was at an
that's
oil
that's
refinery. It wasn't aimed at the track or anything, but still scary enough.
Still,
and
yeah.
the Formula
Doesn't make
One,
it okay.
No, it doesn't make it okay at all. Absolutely, going to need to have a hard look at whether the money they get from that is worth going back to Saudi Arabia next year.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Now it's time for the segment we like to call TV Talk, where we look at the broadcast and some of the things we see here in Australia. We get the Sky Sports broadcast from the UK. And Sam, one of the big things you stressed last week, some of the graphics weren't quite working. We said give it a week. Give it a week to work it out. Looks like they might have.
Yeah, it was last week. Some of the sector times, qualifying was hard to tell. During the race, they didn't have the leaderboard up that often, but I think they did fix it. The sector times were pretty accurate. You could kind of tell who was first. They showed the leaderboard, so I think A's around the board. They fixed it. Looks nice. One thing I really do like, I do love Jenson Button. You know I love Jenson Button.
Yes.
I think he brings a really nice touch to the broadcast. As much as I love Martin Brundle, I think Jenson Button's really calm and
It is. You're right. It's a very different energy.
different demographic. Different demographic.
I like Button as well too. I think you're right. I think Crofty and Brundle together sometimes
Very British, very
get
Hamilton,
a little crazy, but also
very
get a little
Russell.
crazy. They're very, very dramatic in the storytelling. Button is much more
He's
concise.
calm, and he knows what it's like to be a driver.
Yeah, well, Brundle does too, but he also has been in the
But
broadcasting
Button's
business.
won a championship. He's
Yeah, well,
been
you
in the
can't-
modern era.
Yeah, you can't be dissing Brundle. Brundle was a
I'm
driver.
not dissing Brundle.
but
I love
sounded
Martin
like you
Brundle.
were.
He's great.
I'm just saying that Brundle is more excitable. He's more like Crofty, whereas Crofty can be different. With,
I agree with that. I'm
Jenson
just saying,
Button.
Jenson Button has won championships, and he knows how hard it is to be a driver.
Absolutely, certainly does. Replays. We both had a strong
They're
opinion
bad.
about replays.
I will agree with you on this one. There are far too many replays when they're showing during the live action over the replays. Like between Verstappen and Leclerc, they'd like be an overtake, something would happen, then they'd show the replay, and then they'd come back, and then they were going for round two. I mean, you could always miss something. So far too many replays. I think they need to get that fixed out.
You know what I think? I'll give you my theory on that. I think they're so used to the last few years where there wasn't so much wheel-to-wheel racing
I think
that
that's
they
possible.
rolled in those replays.
I think that's possible.
Right?
Yeah, like usually you don't really notice it, but you don't really see any of lap 5 or 6 because they're usually showing the start replays.
Yep.
You don't usually see that. It's harder to do it this time with all the wheel-to-wheel racing, especially on such an interesting track.
They're going to have to adjust.
One thing I did not like on the last lap, Lando Norris and Esteban Ocon, great fight. Ocon, last lap battle for 2 years in a row, and they were showing the wrong angle. They showed them coming out of the last corner,
Yep.
the race to the line. They were alongside each other, and they were showing the angle from behind them, and there was like a thing in the way. You couldn't tell. And then they went up to the Sky Cam, and then Ocon was clearly ahead. Like, you missed a lot of that. So I think that was not great from Sky. There's always some errors, but all round, I think it was much better than last week.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're starting to find their form a bit. Now, from the positive to the somewhat negative, this is the In the Pits segment. And I'm going to lead it off. And this is one you and I talked about a lot. No more pink livery for Alpine.
Oh, yeah, that's horrible.
Bummer.
I didn't think I'd like it because I get confused with Racing Point Force India, the old team. And I did. I kept saying Force India. I did say that by accident. But it's really grown on me, and I like it. I love the pink. I love all the different colours on the grid. And it's going to be a bummer to see it sort of that, I'm not going to say bad, but not as great a livery
Yep.
for that Alpine. I really did love that pink.
Yep, I agree. What do you got? What else?
I got Williams in the pits.
Ugh.
I mean, I know we talked about Latifi and the crashing, but also Alex Albon robbed Leclerc of the win, possibly. I mean, last few laps he had a chance, and Albon completely sent it. Did a Daniel Kvyat and got a puncture, lost his wing, had to retire, and that kind of ruined Ferrari's race chance for the win. And overall, just not a great weekend for Williams. Three or so crashes.
Yep.
No points so far, along with Aston Martin. Just kind of going nowhere.
Yep, I'll agree with that. What do you... could we throw Alfa Romeo in there as well?
I think we could, yeah. I mean, Alfa Romeo...
Tough weekend.
Yeah, it was really tough. I know they're fast, but Zhou Guanyu sadly received time penalties. And then what was going on? The jack wouldn't come out, so they had to get a new one. And then they forgot about the time.
penalty, yes.
And so then he got a drive-through penalty. And then Bottas had to retire on the same lap as Alonso and Ricciardo, all with mechanical failures, but different engines.
Yeah, bizarre.
What's going on there?
That was very, very strange.
That was one of the strangest things ever.
Yeah, it was a weird weekend for Alfa Romeo. They were so fired up after last week.
Yeah.
This week, then they
Bit
sort
of
of
a
come
bummer.
back to earth. Yeah, exactly right.
One last thing for the pits, one
Yeah.
surprise thing. Retirements. Oh
Mm.
my gosh, 13 cars got to the flag. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, we had those three who had to retire. Albon with crash, Latifi with a crash, some others. And then also Yuki Tsunoda couldn't start
Didn't
the
start,
race.
yep.
He took the practice laps, but his engine sadly failed on the way to the grid. And Mick Schumacher, with this big accident in qualifying, was not allowed to race for precautionary reasons. But 13 cars making it to the end, it's not enough.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. Also, I'll throw in the pits as the last one. I've been a little under the weather, but I did want to let you know that if I can't do the podcast next week, you know who's going to replace me? Nico Hulkenberg.
That's
He'll
funny.
step
That's
in.
funny. The
Hulk will
super
step
sub.
in. Finished
Super
12th,
sub,
by the
yeah.
way.
12, that's pretty good.
Speaking of next week, it's a week off, and then we've got, after 2 years missing, the home Grand Prix here in
Yes,
Melbourne. How about
Australia.
that? And you're going to get to go.
And we're going to go. That's awesome. You'll get a lot of content from that, some videos around
Yep.
the track talking about it. Can't wait for that. So exciting.
It's going to be an interesting race. They've
gonna
changed
be
the
so-
track, you know?
Yeah, I don't know how loud it's going to be. I'm worried.
Oh, it's going to be
I'm
loud.
worried.
Don't you worry. You put some headphones in, it'll be loud.
Yeah. But yeah, they have
changed to the
changed
circuit,
it.
going to make it faster.
Yes, I think 7 corners it is have been modified.
Yep.
The chicane at turn 9 and 10 sadly's gone. I didn't mind that chicane. The widening of the corners at 5 different turns, and it should decrease the lap at around 5 or so seconds.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, so we'll definitely get some track records there.
Yeah.
Ferrari, Leclerc could get the track
Well,
record.
I'll talk about that in a minute, because the last winner was Valtteri Bottas in 2019. Hamilton was second, Verstappen third. Ferrari's got a great history here. Michael Schumacher, I was lucky enough to go to some of those races. Vettel won in back-to-back years in 2017, 2018. And when Ferrari wins in Melbourne, there's a massive Italian fan base here, Ferrari fan
Yeah.
base. The place will go off.
Yeah,
will
there's
go
a lot
nuts.
of Italian restaurants with Ferraris in the window
yeah.
and that. People will go crazy on Lygon Street,
Lygon
especially.
Street is the street, yep.
Yeah, it's going to go nuts if Ferrari can get it. And leading into that, our predictions.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well,
Just before,
yes.
I think someone might have got the podium correct.
well, yes, that someone
Yes,
might
you
have gotten the
did.
podium correct.
You guessed Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, and Carlos Sainz.
I did.
Very good. I was not far off. I said Leclerc, Verstappen, both on the podium.
Yep.
Perez
Who
fourth.
was
who
right
was
in there.
fourth.
Yep.
Sainz who was third. So
Yep.
I guess the top 4. Different order, but still not bad.
I'm
Not
pretty
bad.
happy with it.
I think this is probably our best weekend in terms of the average prediction.
Yeah, no, I agree with
I
that.
think very good.
Seeing as how I won, that means you probably have to start.
I'm still
This
thinking.
week.
No,
No,
you
you
go
gotta
for
go with it.
Okay, I'm gonna
What do
have
you
to
got?
wing it then. I might get some new predictions out.
All right.
I'm gonna have to wing it.
Okay.
We're gonna go. The winner bounces back after a tough one. I know I've guessed this again, but I want Leclerc to win
All right.
in Australia. Now,
Okay.
I'm getting down to business here.
So Leclerc first. Yep.
Leclerc first.
Yep.
Max Verstappen second.
Okay.
Oh, third. This is a tough one. Perez or Sainz.
I think
Which
that, yeah.
Spanish-speaking driver is gonna take another podium? I think Perez will be mad and he'll bounce back. I think Perez will take third. Carlos Sainz fourth.
Okay.
Not much change. And my bold prediction, I forgot to make one last week, sadly.
Bold
but
one.
don't worry, a bold one. It's not too bold this week.
Okay.
We'll get some bolder ones. Haven't had many start crashes yet this year. Australia's turn 1 is notorious for that. So I'm going to say a couple of cars out on lap 1.
Okay.
Probably a Williams, but not going to get too specific.
If it's Latifi.
Not going to get too specific.
All right.
But I think a couple of cars out,
Okay.
turn 1 or so.
That's actually not that crazy a prediction. I agree. I will say I'm going to back Verstappen to win again.
Ugh.
Leclerc second.
Okay.
And I'm going to really go out on a limb here.
Oh, no.
I'm going to really go out on a limb
Oh,
here.
no.
I don't know why. I'm probably not going to get any
Don't say Ricardo.
George Russell. to take
George
third.
Russell?
Something's
What are
going to
you
happen.
on?
He's going to weasel his way
No,
into
he's
third.
not.
George Russell.
No, he's not even going to finish.
Where's Ricardo finish?
Not even gonna
Top 10?
I don't see it, but I hope he does. I really hope he does. I think Ricciardo top 5, fingers crossed.
Wow.
Place will go nuts.
I think he goes top 10 at least.
I hope he goes top 5. I think he'll be about 10th or 9th, but I hope he's in the top 5.
All right,
in
there we
with a
go.
chance.
Thank you for listening. This has been the DRS Zone podcast, now available on Spotify, so you can find us there.
Yes.
I'm Ed White. He's Sam White, and we
sure
will
am.
see you during and after
During and after the
the Australian
Australian
Grand Prix. See you later.